My name is Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone. I am an American 400-meter hurdler and the current world record holder.
We all know that, but what we probably didn't expect was Sydney competing in Budapest in the 400 meters instead of the 400 meters hurdles. Even when this video was filmed, or at least released in January,
slowly, like peekaboo stuff.
Sydney talked about the 400 meters hurdles.
It is one of the most gruesome events, but it is one of the most rewarding events.
But now it has officially been announced that the world record holder Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone has decided not to compete in the hurdles. This move will surely provide a fresh perspective to witness her brilliance at the World Athletics Championships Budapest 2023 in the 400 meters. For some, this news isn't much of a surprise, especially since Sydney didn't run a single 400 meters hurdles this year. According to Bobby Kersee, Sydney's coach, she will enter only one event at this month's World Track and Field Championships. The double does not allow us, I think, the proper amount of time and recovery to do both, and I think the bigger challenge would obviously be to see how we can do in the 400, shared Kersee. The reason behind them choosing the 400 flat instead of the hurdles is quite understandable. According to Kersee, we won our nationals, which is hard to win, and we did it in good fashion. So I think that we want to continue moving forward with the challenge. Notably, Sydney has never raced the flat 400 meters at a top-level championship meet, but her 400 meters split in the women's 4x400 meters relay at last July's Worlds was the world's second fastest in the last 33 years. This alone shows how ready Sydney is for the switch in events, not distance, but events. In light of that, Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone is passing on defending her title in the 400 meters hurdle at the World Championships later this month to concentrate on her newest event, the 400. Despite being new to the 400, McLaughlin-Levrone has the top time in the world this season at 48.74 seconds. On that note, let's see how she's been performing in the 400 meters this season and try to gauge if she's ready to enter the Worlds in a new event, one that is not remotely similar to the hurdles, although they share one characteristic, the distance of 400 meters. Even Sydney's husband, Andre Levrone Jr., admitted that the transition hadn't been easy.
The 4 hurdles is such there's an external rhythm placed upon you because of the hurdles, but the 400 open, it's an internal rhythm. So it's been a little difficult for her to find that rhythm.
But so far, it seems that Sydney has found that rhythm to run the 400 meters more smoothly. So let's see how she was when she started and how she was in her most recent run. As you all know, it was at the Paris Diamond League 2023 when Sydney strayed from the 400 meters hurdle and ran her first flat 400 meters in 2 years. There, in her first outdoor race of the season, Sydney finished second place. Although she started fast out of the blocks in her first flat lap race in nearly 5 years.
A test for McLaughlin-Levrone, who has got Marilady Paulino up on her shoulder. She's already drifting past her. A really aggressive first 100 meters.
Dominican Republic's Marilady Paulino, the world and Olympic silver medalist, caught up with Sydney down the final bend before pulling ahead on the straight to take victory in a meeting record 49.12.
This is brilliant from Paulino. It looks like Levrone went too quickly. McLaughlin has been reeled in here. She's paid for that aggression. Paulino much more measured, and she comes through in 49.12. It is a meeting record.
Still, Sydney made her mark, clocking at 49.71 seconds. To think that this was her outdoor season debut, having not raced since a 60-meter indoor in Boston in February. That's a good start for her 400 meters transition. Even Sydney believes so too.
Really happy with the season opener, PR. Obviously things to clean up, but for 2023, I'd say that's a good start.
What's better is she has a good grasp of her strengths as well as the things she still needs to work on.
Felt good, felt strong getting out. Obviously things to work on the back end, but my coach wanted me to take it out and see how I felt, and I can't complain with that first 200.
Then, at the NYC Grand Prix, Sydney went up against Gabby Thomas, who also specializes in a different event but has dipped her toes as well, so to speak, in the 400 meters flat. While both are great athletes and outstanding runners in their respective events, it was Sydney who emerged victorious in New York. At the 30-second mark, the gap between the two was very obvious.
This is McLaughlin alone. She'll show all that strength from the women's 400-meter hurdles.
Although Gabby is running fast, she was not fast enough.
Gabby Thomas finishing well, but it is Sydney McLaughlin alone, driving all the way to the line.
So, at the end of the race, it was Sydney who cruised to victory at the NYC Grand Prix. That's not all. Sydney achieved a
And a new personal best, 49.51, and it is
which is also notably the fourth fastest time in the world this year. In an interview, Sydney admitted that the journey to this remarkable win wasn't easy. The flat is definitely harder in my opinion. It's hard to kind of figure out your cadence mid-race. At least with hurdles, I kinda know where I'm at. It's a different kind of pain, but the challenging good one, Sydney said. Compared to the Diamond League race in Paris, I went out a little more conservatively to kind of feel the back end a little bit better. I did a good job of that, she told reporters. Some things to clean up, but a PR is a PR. When Sydney stepped on the track in Eugene to compete at the US Championships, Sydney had competed in only a couple of 400 meters races in the season. But that didn't stop her from sprinting to a win once again at the US Championships.
So it's been a little difficult for her to find that rhythm, but I think today she kind of put a lot of it together. I won't say she put all of it together. There's more to still go get. And I know my wife's going to go get it, but I think that internal rhythm's starting to come together for her.
Well, obviously, no one would question that, especially after she claimed the national title with a time of 48.74 seconds at Hayward Field in Eugene, Oregon.
The meet record is 49.27. The American record is 48.70. Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone is a national champion at a new event at a 48.75.
What's more, she almost broke the American record of 48.70 set by Sonia Richard-Ross in 2006. Still, Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone is now the third U.S. woman in history to run under 49 seconds with her U.S. Championships in the 400, clocking at 48.74 seconds. That was just 0.04 seconds slower than Sonia Richards-Ross's American record, and put McLaughlin-Levrone 10th on the all-time list. At the event, Britton Wilson couldn't quite close the gap on McLaughlin-Levrone and took second, while Talitha Diggs wound up third.
I mean, it's been amazing to be able to PR every time I race and just get more comfortable with it, and I think the time continues to come down as I run around.
With the way she's wrapping up her 400 meters races, it's not evident that Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone is still learning the pacing in the Open 400, but she is. Although she has the hurdles down to a science after lowering the world record 4 times over a 13-month period, it isn't the same thing with the 400 meters flat. Still, she's on to the next challenge, the 400 meters world record. The greats always push themselves. McLaughlin-Levrone said on the CNBC telecast, "I want to be one of them, so I push myself and get out of my comfort zone."
Were you looking for that American record?
Honestly, I was just looking for anything better than 49.5, which was my PR at the time. Obviously, make the team is the #1 goal, then you go for the win, then you go for the times.
That said, did she achieve her goal? Well,
In that order, that was my goal, and I'm very happy with that time.
it was a culmination of everything. She told Citius Mag of her performance. "I think we've been continuing to progress through this year and put the pieces together. Learning a new event is always a little interesting, and I think today was a little bit of the front end getting put together, the back end getting put together, and taking a sigh of relief." We will be seeing her in Budapest, and we're all excited for it.
Can't wait to see you guys at the World Championships in Budapest.
But for those of you who are a fan of her 400 meters hurdles races, you'd still see her do that. Sydney's coach, Bobby Kersey, said that she would compete in the 400 meters hurdles again in the future. "We might as well continue the journey, in my opinion, that way," he said. By no means does that mean we're giving up on the 400 hurdles or whatever goals we might have in the future toward being an Olympic champion again in the 400 meter hurdles or challenging the world record in the 400 meter hurdles or what have you. Do you know who else you should watch out for in Budapest? Matthew Boling, that's who. Watch this to find out why.